Hey guys, my name's Brianna. I am active duty Air Force stationed in Korea, but I'll be back in the States for leave for a couple weeks starting tomorrow. Anyways, I'll get right into these questions. So, my hypothetical workplace, I'm actually just going to use my actual workplace. So, I work in I have like an admin, human resources type job, and I have four people working directly for me, all military members, and we all have the same office setting. The physical demands of our job is very low. We sit in front of a computer all day. We're sitting looking at a computer all day. So there are some challenges that come with that, obviously, but they're going to be very different to someone who has a labor intensive working demands. So to assess the needs and the interests of my team, I hold a monthly team building activity, if you will, whether it's professional development, leadership development, or just like a trip to the bowling alley, or we'll go downtown for lunch or something like that. And I think that time is a good opportunity that I could use to have the health risk assessment and the interest survey and kind of use those formats as a guide to facilitate a verbal discussion amongst the five of us, because we are a very close-knit team. We get along really well. I don't really think there's any issues that would come up that people didn't want to talk about in that setting. And if so, I can always give them the forms after, and then they can write down their stuff and give it to me, so it's more like a one-on-one and they don't have to share with the group if they don't want to. As far as the needs of my team, I think for the most part, I think they would be very similar, given that our work environment is very similar. Our physical our fitness assessments, are pretty much all the same. They differ slightly, but depending on your age. And we do have one of my girls is significantly older than the rest, so she has her standards are adjusted for her age. But we all have to take an annual or biannual fitness assessment. So the requirements we have to meet for our job and for our fitness standards are very, very similar. One nuanced thing about being here in Korea is the culture of drinking. And I obviously think it's a very, very important thing to have a healthy relationship with alcohol. And three of the guys on my team are early to mid 20s. And so they are very, and I mean, I'm 25 too, so I get it. But they're very inclined to, after working long weeks, long days, whatever, go out downtown and have a couple drinks. And that's totally fine. And I just think it's important to reinforce to them healthy drinking habits, because we have seen it several times, time and time again, where people get carried away, they have way too much, and then they end up, with a drinking problem, and they're referred, our commanders in the military can mandate that their members go to our version, I guess, of an Alcoholics Anonymous. They can mandate that of military members. So before you get to that point, there's classes to help mitigate that. And then I think obviously another need based on our fitness standards is establishing and keeping a fitness routine. And I know that that's going to look different for everyone that works for me, just because they have different sports and physical activities that interest them. So that, I think, the specific physical activity is what would differ the most. As far as challenges, I kind of already talked about the smoking and the drinking. We do also have smoking cessation classes in the military, so that's useful. Another common one is just not having a lot of motivation to keep your fitness routine, but that is something that I personally take interest in, and I am personally invested in that to make sure that the people who work for me have a plan. And if I can help them in any way in creating it, in sticking to it, in teaching them new things, I'm absolutely 100% for that. I have been an athlete my entire life. I've lived in the weight room since I was 14 years old, and like that's my world. And bodybuilding and strength sports are just, that's my arena. That's where I thrive, and that's what I love to do. So if they have any questions, they know they can always come to me, which is really cool as a leader. By the way, side note. The last thing, again, that's kind of unique to being here in Korea is that the vast majority of people don't have their family here. Even if you do have a spouse or children, most people don't get to bring them here to Korea. They just do a 1-year remote tour and then go back to either their previous station or a follow-on. But not having your family here has a couple implications that people may not realize, outside of the military. And that's it. One of those is that it's kind of easy to get sucked into working long hours because you don't have people at home waiting for you, right? So that, and then if you're coming in early, leaving late, you're kind of worn out, you want to go out downtown and blow off some steam, have some drinks, that's okay, but it can become a vicious cycle. So that is definitely a challenge here that we have to deal with, and as leaders we have to be very aware. Leaders in our workforce, but also just leaders in sports and fitness and health and fitness in that industry. And then I'll touch real quick on rehabbing injuries. People get hurt playing sport or whatever the case may be. You have an accident. So rehabbing and coming back from those injuries can also be a challenge. That can take motivation out of someone. One of my girls, she's a very competitive volleyball player, and she hurt her ankle. She was in a boot for 3 months. The poor thing. I don't think I saw her smile once those 3 months. So watching out for your people and knowing what they care about and what's important to them is really, that can go so far. That can go really far. Yeah, so those are my thoughts for this week. Let me know what you guys think. If you have anything to add, suggestions on what I could do as far as, using the health risk assessment and the survey forms, or if you just have any afterthoughts, let me know. Thanks.